Okay. Hi, hello, welcome back. Hi.
Good morning.
We're on lesson 256, and Sis has offered to read.
I have?
Yeah, remember?
Oh, okay, here we go. And are we recording on the right screen and everything?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, there'll be a split screen view and a speaker view.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Lesson 256, God is the only goal I have today. God is the only goal I have today. The way to God is through forgiveness here. There is no other way. If sin had not been cherished by the mind, what need would there have been to find the way to where you are? Who would still be uncertain? Who could be unsure of who he is? And who would yet remain asleep in heavy clouds of doubt about the holiness of him whom God created sinless? Here we can but dream. Here we can only dream. But we can dream we have forgiven him in whom all sin remains impossible. And it is this we choose to dream today. God is our goal. Forgiveness is the means by which our minds return to him at last. And so, our Father, would we come to you in your appointed way? We have no goal except to hear your voice and find the way your sacred word has pointed out to us.
And again, God's appointed way is forgiveness.
Yeah. Can we just unpack this a bit, Sis? It's a bit
Sure.
disjointed the way, for me anyway. Anyway, starting at the beginning of this lesson again, God is the only goal I have today. The way to God is through forgiveness here. Then he goes on to say this, just in case we didn't get that, there is no other way.
Right.
That's a big statement.
Yeah.
There literally is no other way. Right. So I want to just bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
Is in that case, then I think he's also asking us to discern without any self-judgment, no self-blame, no guilt, but to look at with open eyes and with Holy Spirit at what we've used or are currently using to replace forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying here is like our accomplishments, right? Our accomplishments, our pride, body-centered improvements that we make. And on the flip side of that is our like self-sabotage. All of the areas that we blame ourselves for, addictions, overeating, whatever it might be. Yeah. And these are all things that the ego is happy for us to do, is happy to encourage us to continue doing them. But the issue is, and this is from my own experience, is that we have to come to a place where we realize that all of this accomplishing, whatever it might be, negative or positive, is really just a replacement for forgiveness, because it's forgiveness that takes us all the way home. As he says here, there is no other way.
Mhm.
But through the ego and through the split mind, we're trying to do both. And,
Right.
and we tend to prioritize forgiveness last, believing that all of this accomplishing is actually getting us somewhere. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Um,
Forgiveness starts out as a concept as we learn about it, and then we practice it a little bit, but we're very convinced that there's a lot more in the world that calls for our attention, real things that we need to tend to. Forgiveness is not high on our priority. And yet that the more you begin to awaken and see how this world works, we come to this place of recognition that God is the only mind. God is the only life. Only what God created is. Nothing else is true, right? One is illusion and one is real. And so what do we want? And as we begin to recognize, okay, this is all a setup. I want the truth. I want to know my holiness. Well, there is a plan for that, but it's singular. And it's to forgive every single thing we thought we have done, our relationships, how we've used them, down to this first idea that we became separate from God as a body and took on a personality that we refer to as mythical me. That also needs to be forgiven. So there's plenty of forgiveness to do. But I like what you're saying, sis. I mean, we think, oh, I need to go defend myself against this real problem. And I have all these goals that I need to obtain, things that I still desire in the world because I think it's really going to bring me something. Eventually, we're all the prodigal son, and we all come to the same recognition that there is no payoff. You're not going to find peace and satisfaction, health, longevity, joy in the world or in your relationships. It's not there to find. You may be an excellent seeker, but it's not that you can't find what isn't there. So God is the only. God is the only. And so if we want to be alive in God, have life eternal, take our inheritance, there's one door through which we can enter in, and that is by forgiving what isn't.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So forgiveness, again, forgiveness is the closest. It's the closest that we can come. It's the means by which, it's the closest that we can come to the felt state and the knowing of our sinlessness.
That's right.
And therefore, our invulnerability to everything the ego made to attack us.
Right. And if you think about the gap diagram, this one has been busy forgiving the things that are in the gap, both positives and the negatives, and then comes down to this point of, I'm going to forgive even what I thought I was. And so the final step, or the last decision, that this one mythical me will make, is that this is the action of forgiveness. This, bam. I forgive what never was. I forgive the thought of separation or my desire to experience separation. That this is the activity of forgiveness that places us what? It awakens us to where we are presently right now, but for the dream. Yeah. So forgiveness is still part of the gap, but it's the last thing that happens in the gap before we awaken from it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So there's no other goal, right? Like we've had goals, and we did this. He says, if you knew how much effort it took for us to teach ourselves this dream and to circle back in it and perfect it over and over again, how much effort and how unnatural we're using our minds in order to believe all of this. Really, we know how to set a goal, and we're experts at maintaining this goal. So it's a shift. It's not, oh, how am I going to do this? So much to be undone. It's the discipline to forgive. We can do that. There's one goal: forgiveness. I seek God only today, and the way Jesus tells me is through forgiveness. So we have a new goal. We set our intention every day that the only thing that matters and the only thing that we can do at this point is to forgive. And the invitation, Holy Spirit, show me after forgiveness, I'm just accepting that the truth is true, and we'll be shown.
And we can't forgive without wanting to be wrong.
Yeah, I want to be wrong about all of this.
See, that's the issue I had for 20 odd years studying. I was happy to do forgiveness as long as I could be right still.
You too?
Yeah. All right. No, we got to be happy to be wrong.
Right. You're right. You're finally right.
Finally.
Yeah. Sis and I were just talking the other day about the backbone of Coreen was, the mind that had to be right and had to know. And what I got to see underneath that was that there's a doer, right? Who cares if you're doing something right unless you first feel this motivation to do. So I've got to do something. And if you're going to do it, well, then you better do it right. And even underneath the doer, which is everything, mythical me is the doer. And everything that we do independently from the will of God results in guilt. So the doer is the guilt. And
so you were an excellent problem solver too, sis, being a lawyer as well.
Yeah. Oh, right? It works.
You're really a do-doer. Sorry, I'm laughing. Do-doer.
I'm a big do-do. Look at how the world fawns over those who are seen as good doers and problem solvers, and that's exactly what the ego would want. And we sit there and go, oh, this is great, it's great, until you realize that the doer is doing, unless you're pausing and you are directly inspired by the mind of God to do, you're arrogantly insisting on having a will apart from God. And that's anything we do apart from the will of God, when we fail to pause and to receive and then to extend, when we're not in that flow, that is the arrogance of the ego and will always result in guilt. And guilt is what turns on the body, and the guilt is what causes us to seemingly, quote, die. So it was really big. The I know mind is the icing on top of a very arrogant doer. And even subtly below the doer is this need to have some purpose other than what God's given us as our purpose. I don't want to be just an extender of God. I want to make apart from God. I want to have thoughts that God isn't having. I want to do it my way. Not your will, God, my will is done. So that all results in this mythical me that never has any life in it and traipses off to the casket to reincarnate again and again. Sorry, guys, I'm just going off because this is all new and exciting. But yeah, if it's helpful for any of you out there, everybody's got some backbone story.
Thank God there's not going to be too much of a do-doer anymore.
No, and I have you to help me when I start getting on the do train. I catch myself constantly. What do I need to do? It's like, you don't do anything. Stop. Someone needs to put their hand on my head and just hold. Like a toddler, distracted all the time. Yeah. Sorry. So God is the only goal I have today. Sticking to it. Thanks, sis.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, family. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, beautiful family. Don't forget, there's something to remember to do.
This is
Sorry to contradict this lesson.
But this is inspired. This is from God.
What? Yes, God said, forgive me. All right.
Yeah.
But God said, please, if you really enjoyed this video, this lesson, hit the like button.
And subscribe.
And there was one more and I can't remember what it was.
It's make a comment and share.
Okay. Gee, you're good, sis. There's still a do-doer there.
Yeah. So it's his will to get this message out. And if you are moved by your guidance that it would be helpful, please do that. Yeah. And if not, no harm, no foul, no judgment. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll
Thank
see
you, beautiful family. We love you. Thank you. Thanks, sis.
We do. Bye, guys.
Bye.